If I have my PhD and I have a tattoo on my neck, what the fuck are you gonna say to me?
Matthew R. Morris doesn't just write, he reconstructs language. He repositions identity. He redefines how education shapes the culture we live in and the culture we deserve. A Toronto-born teacher, TEDx speaker, and author of Black Boys Like Me, Matthew's voice echoes through classrooms, courtrooms, newsrooms, and most importantly, within the communities he speaks up for. From CBC to CP24, from the staff room to the stage, he's been doing the real work. And when Senator Paulette Sr. placed the King Charles III Coronation Medal in his hands, it was more than recognition, it was reverence. This week on episode 17 of He's a Guy, we sit down with Matthew to talk about masculinity without the mask.
The first step's gotta be love. How else do you get to talking about these other things if you're unable to like share like how important a friend is to you?
Education as a vehicle for justice, mental health, code switching, black boy joy, and what it means to be soft on purpose. So here's your invitation, not to consume, but to consider, not to perform, but to reflect. Are you really showing up as your full self? Tap in.
Welcome back to another episode of He's a Guy podcast. Here with the guys. This is a great episode. I'm really high strung on this one, to be honest with you. We're gonna go around with some mental check-in. Oh, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Subscribe. A little button right here. Please. The little red button to show up on the screen. You guys are doing a wonderful job with subscriptions, but Sean has gifts for you guys. There's more to get. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know out there if there's anything that you would like us to highlight or talk about further. But going around the room, we can start with Theon. Tell us how your week was, brother. How you doing?
You want me to be honest?
Yeah,
bro. Honest, real raw.
Don't come on here and try to lie.
Honestly, I had a really low week. I was I want to say I was struggling really with like imposter syndrome. Even I think the last time we shot the pod, I just after I left, I was like overthinking a lot of things at work, and I guess just doing too much, and I was just really low on myself. But you know what I mean, just having conversations and just kind of grounding myself and taking it day by day. I was able to kind of get out of that rut. But yeah, I had a pretty low week, man.
Sorry to hear that. I'm happy to hear though.
I'm happy to be here, so I'm good, bro.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for sharing that, bro. Keeping it a buck. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you guys.
Damn. I had a pretty good week. I won't lie to you guys. It was work was steady flow. Coming off of last week's basketball game, it's been on me. I'm thinking like, yo, now I gotta get it back in blood, but there's nothing else to get back. You know what I mean? So it started out, but the week went good. Yeah, bro. What can I say? You know, I feel high. I feel good in vibrations and energy. You know what I mean? You guys hear that one? I feel
the energy?
Tell us who you are and what's going on.
Yeah. I go by the name of Matthew. Thank y'all. I'm gonna tap into with the vibes for how I'm feeling this week. If I was to give myself a rating, I would say this week it was probably like a 6 out of 10. Like it was solid, but also coming off the heels of February was like a very busy, burdensome month. And I try to have like a word of the month.
Okay.
And this month I was reflecting earlier this week, and I'm like, okay, my word for this month is going to be patience. Because I felt like I was just putting so much on my plate, and every day it's like, as soon as I check off the list on my agenda, it's like, okay, let me prepare for tomorrow. Wake up and just on it. And I don't think that's the most healthy way to operate 365.
100%.
So yeah, but today's dope. I'm glad to be here, man. I've been looking forward to chopping it up with y'all for a minute. So
I've been looking forward to having you, bro.
Yeah, for real.
Sure.
Appreciate you.
Seems like everybody had a rough week. My week, from the year, this has been the worst week for me. I just felt drained. Everything I did, I was tired. How's work slow and you're still tired? Like, you
I
know
understand what you're
what
saying.
I'm saying? I was just drained. Not more like went to my son's game early in the morning. It's so funny because then I had to work at night. We fell asleep. I set my timer. My timer was going off for almost 4 hours.
Holy.
And I'm not a dead sleeper, and that's how drained I was. I woke up. You ever wake up and you're just looking around like,
Space.
you're still here? Like, I should have been at work.
Yeah.
Or I had to text man, yo, I'm running late. And then when I got the energy to get up, I was like, nah, I'm not gonna make it. Right? And it's just been a rough week, but honestly, here now, you know, happy to see the man them. Matthew, good to see you as well. Tychon's still shining. So, you know, you guys bring that spunk back to me, you know? Start off the week good this week now. I'm feeling the vibes and the energy stuff.
I appreciate having you, dog. Sean, holla at me. What's going on?
Rough week, bro.
Damn.
It was a rough one. You know what? Sunday night was that men's league game. We got slapped up
Chill.
at 10 p.m. It's just a hard, like, that set the tone, it felt like. For me, I couldn't walk on Monday. I missed my yoga and then missed yoga. And it was just like, the week was just downhill. I was tired. I feel like even like we do our edits weekly for our podcast. Like, I feel like we were all sluggish. No one's responding in the group. Like, it was just,
We're all trying to figure it out.
like, this week was heavy, brother. Like, I had imposter syndrome, 2 voices in my head being like, just give up, man. Just quit, bro.
Damn.
You ain't shit, bro. And it's like, it's so funny because like leading up to that, I was feeling like everything's blessed. We're unstoppable. And then this week, I felt like something was trying to stop me. And you ever hear the quote, this too shall pass?
Mm-hmm.
The good times pass.
Oh.
100%.
And the bad times pass too. But this week was one of the hardest times. And kind of like Matthew was saying, like February was like, I was doing a lot and I didn't even reflect on it. Because especially like, I think Matthew could probably relate to this. Sometimes when you speak in spaces and you're black in February, it's like, here, black guy, speak everywhere. And it's tiring, right? Not to complain, those are blessings. But it's tiring. So it's like, now coming into March, I love the word patience because it's like, okay, breathe, take a minute. You've been doing a lot. It's all good. And it's okay to feel like shit for a few days. Like that's okay. But it's like understanding that will pass too. And so seeing you guys, me able to get this off my chest. I feel like I need to get it off my chest. I feel a lot better.
Absolutely.
I'm excited for today.
Bro.
Glad to have you here too with us, brother.
Absolutely,
So
bro. Absolutely.
it's gonna be a good one.
I appreciate everybody for sharing those things, man, because I feel like that's something that we definitely have to let people know it's okay to feel those things, right? You know, you don't have to be great all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to sit in those bad moments as well. You come out a better person on the other side of those things, right? So, but looking forward to this here podcast. I wanted to call this one, I like to self-title this one too. I don't know if you guys can all see the book here, is that I enjoy from what I've read so far. Black Boys Like Me. So I like to title this episode here, Black Boys to Men. Right? So I want to start and ask Matthew. Sorry, something high, bro. I'm bugging. Matthew, tell us how we got to this book, brother. Who are you and what brought you to that point, I guess, you know?
Yeah, man. That's I don't know. Like I'm gonna keep it a buck. I don't know who I am yet, man. Like that's a deep question, right? I think we're always still kind of like learning who we are as we go, right? Like even off camera, we were kind of just talking about like, you know, how are things and what's going on, right? Like my whole life, now that I think about it, was defined by the things that I did, right? Like, like probably a lot of y'all, like I grew up in life playing sports, right? I played football and I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to go down to the US on that, you know, good old like American dream of like, yo, I'm gonna make it, get school paid for, I'm gonna go to the NFL, rah, rah, rah. And then like reality hit, right? Where that was the first time in my life at like maybe 20 or 21 where I ripped up my shoulder and I'm like, okay, like what am I actually gonna do? Right? Like all I've known my whole life is been defined by being an athlete. Like I was defined by like, oh yeah, he's the football player. Like, he's the dude who plays sports. And I couldn't even fathom like going to college and not being like on a team. Like I'm like, yo, I can't go to school and just be like a student. That would be like, I couldn't even put it in my head.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, obviously the reality starts to hit as you like start to progress. If you're lucky enough to like make it to a post-secondary institution while you're still playing sports, right? And I was like, you know what? I would, if I took like money out of the equation, right? Like, you say I like somehow stumbled on like $500 million and like I didn't have to wake up and go to a job, what would I do? And I thought about it, you know, for a couple weeks, and I'm like, you know what? Like, the end result of the answer of that is I would go back to my high school and I would coach the football team. Like, if I could, you know, if I didn't have to pay a bill, pay for, you know, the mortgage or all these different payments, I would go back and be a high school football coach. This was me. I was like 21 years old. And then I'm like, okay, like maybe I'll go to teachers college, right? To like check, like go to teachers college to be a high school football coach. Like, I'm still not even thinking about like going to teachers college to like be a teacher. You know what I mean? I'm thinking like, okay, I'm gonna go to teachers college. I'm gonna get a job. I'm gonna be in the gym all day. I'm gonna wear tech fleece after tech fleece every single day. And when I got to teachers college, I probably was like 22, maybe 22 or 23. And that was the first time where I actually reflected on the journey that like Black males have to go through to simply be successful, right? Like, I had made it to teachers college. I had an undergrad degree, and like 99% of the reason for being in that position was because I played sports, and I was decent enough to play sports to like get to the point where like it sounds crazy to say, but like my brain caught up with my body, like my maturity caught up to like, oh shoot, like I'm lucky to be here. Like, if I didn't play a sport, I don't think I would have been able to afford to go to university, which is part of the reason why I did play sports. And when reality hit, I thought of like, oh man, like so many of my friends didn't make it past high school. My own brother didn't even graduate high school, right? We're separated by 18 months. And like so many people in my community where I'm from in Scarborough in the East End, like older and younger, like they were just impeded by school. And when I finally kind of quote unquote went back to school, I'm like, nah, like I can't be the gym teacher. Like, shout out to the gym teachers, like very important position. But I'm like, yo, I can't be the adult teacher that like comes back to elementary school and teaches gym. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? It could be anybody.
I'm laughing because I'm like, if I was a teacher, I'm a gym teacher.
That's why, like, that was what I wanted to do. But like, when I started to reflect, I'm like, am I doing a disservice to these like younger Black boys that are coming up through the system, and then they're seeing me and they're like, yeah, he's just another version of like the sports person, right? Like, I graduated with a degree, a double major in English and history. I'm like, I should use that. Like, I should go to school and teach English class, right? So that was like the first process of like this book, right? And I'm talking about, this is like a decade ago, more than a decade ago. So through that like journey, I'm like, yo, like I need to try and figure out a way to like help like these Black youth like understand that like we shouldn't be defined by the stereotypes that are placed on us. Like, we should be able to like have a fluidity of identity, so to speak, right? Like, it's cool to play sports. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, sports gave me a lot in my life. But when I reflect on it, it's like, yo, that fourth grade teacher could have like bigged me up for getting an A on the spelling test. But it was always like, Matthew, like, you're the fastest in your little grade 4 class. Like, you know, like the emphasis and the validation always came from like being in the gym or the athleticism, where it's like, oh, you did decent on a test. Like, when the decent part on the test came out, it was like, oh, like, wow. Like, it was like they were surprised. Right. And when you internalize that, when you don't have like the cognitive, like reflective skills to even internalize that exceptionality that they're putting on you, like they're considering it not normal that you got a decent grade, you're like, why are you surprised? Like Johnny got a decent grade. You didn't go up to him and say that.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
So yeah, like I just wanted to figure out a way to like share and do my part in like shattering stereotypes around what Black masculinity is supposed to be. You know what I'm saying?
That is powerful as hell,
Appreciate that.
to be honest. And we didn't get far.
That's what I'm saying. You bring up old memories. I'm here like,
I got goosebumps.
Yeah,
Son. I'm thinking about like what my thing was, and then even for you to be at that age and kind of reflect upon yourself and be like, yo, I can be more for others. You know what I mean? That's amazing in of itself.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like it was being more for others, but more of it was just like I just don't want like the next generation. Like when I look around and see the kids in Toronto and in Scarborough, like I don't want them to think that like, oh, if they dress a certain way, if they talk a certain way, if they decide at 14, 15, 16 to pierce their ears and buy their gold chain and get a tattoo, that means that they have to like exist in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Like when I first started teaching, like I covered all my tattoos. Like I was like afraid to like expose the fact that I have a 1-2 tattoo. I never wore my earrings to school when I was teaching 8th grade. Bro, I bought like like plaid, like you read in the book, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, when I first got my job, I went to the outlets at Niagara Falls and went into like Tommy Hilfiger, pure plaid button-down shirts, khakis, Sperry's, because I was afraid of like what authentic Blackness says in an educational setting. So I was like, no, I'll look the part. And I think that does a disservice. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think it's poisonous, particularly when it comes from like Black people themselves, to send this like implicit message of like what it means and how you ought to be successful. Like the pathway to be successful is to take the earrings out, isn't to get the tattoos, isn't to grow the hair, you know? And I think that does a crazy disservice. I think that's like anti-Black racism, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Yo. Okay. So I was going to ask you, how important is representation within literature then? Because as you speak about representation in teaching, a lot of us, bro, I'm not going to speak for a lot, I'll speak for me. I grew up where reading wasn't the most important. Like I said, I was one of those fall into a lot of stereotypes. It's like I read well. You know, I use words that a lot of my friends look at me and say, what the hell is that? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I do well with that and kind of the balancing of that and slang. But it's like when it came to reading now and expanding your vocabulary and different things that people try to place upon reading, I looked at it and I was like, I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
So now now being older and looking at reading, I enjoy it more because I find better reasoning for it and finding things in that. So I feel like when I come across books like this, I find even more reason to want to read. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you feel the representation in literature or even stuff like this, not even to take it away from this book, just period. What would you say to kids to get into reading, being an educator?
I look at it like this, right? Like, first of all, like we're potting right now, right? Like we're having a conversation where we need to be able to like articulate our thoughts and communicate with each other, right? And the more effective you're able to communicate your thoughts, the more of a presence you have. You know what I'm saying? The more of a tangible experience you can immerse yourself in, right? The more you're able to communicate, the stronger you are to move somebody, right? Like when you feel moved, right? Like think about hip hop, think about music. Like there's songs that you could think about, like certain lyrics, and it's like, yo, that's moving. Like it's moving. Like I just listened to this. I think he's from Philly, and his name's Friday. And he just dropped an album. And he has a song with Meek Mill, bro. And Meek Mill, the song's called Proud of Me.
Yeah.
And the the song is basically about them missing their father. You don't think Meek Mill has a strong vocabulary and a good grasp on language? Like, that's literacy to me, right? That's just a different vehicle of literacy. And however you pick that up is how you pick that up. Like, so for me, like, I think for Black kids, like, it's so important, whatever it is that you're interested in, you should hit the bookstore and get those materials. Like, when I was a kid, I was reading pure sports magazines. Like, I remember Athlon Sports. Like, I was just asking my moms to buy me like all the sports magazines, right? And she didn't boop on that. She was like, she didn't say, oh, you need to read a book. She was like, whatever you're interested in, read it.
Yeah.
Because the purpose and the task and the goal is like it's to foster a love for literacy, right? So like, when you ask me about like how important it is for like Black writers or like stories that center Blackness, that's super important, bro. Like, it's kind of touching on the conversation that we're already having about like how we feel we need to represent ourselves when we step out into the world. And the reason why we feel we need to step out and represent ourselves in rigid ways is because the ways that we're represented, whether it's through TV, movies, music, books, the ways in which Blackness and Black masculinity is represented in these such limited ways. So it's important for folks to like share their story and share their narrative, right? And like and just speak from a place of like, you know, when I was writing this book, I wasn't like writing to prove anything or like make you understand like here's the conclusion that you should draw from it. I was just writing like, yo, here's what I experienced. And like, how you take it might be different than how you take it, but the purpose is to like center Blackness so that there's more of a continuum and like a fluidity of like what it means to like exist as like a Black man, or like for Black children, like what it means to exist as a Black boy, so that they have different entry points. They have different representative ways of like being able to exist. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Bro, honestly, like when you speak, it moves me. Like, even like I read the whole book back to cover, but like even when you were telling your stories, it's like I see how important it is, because like I'm picturing myself in elementary school. I'm picturing myself in high school, how I was spoken to, how I was only praised for being an athlete, how it was weird to be smart. And it was weird from like the Black people, and it was weird from the rest of the world too. They're like, oh shit, you're smart. Yeah. Even sometimes now people be like, oh shoot, like you're smart. You're smarter than I thought.
Right.
That's real, bro.
And like, what does that mean? Like, you really articulate yourself well. Like, wow. I'm like, wow. Is that surprising for you? And it's like, what you're saying is like, to be a Black man, as we see it in stories, as we see it in TV shows, as we see it in movies, it's like, there's only certain character archetypes. It's like, there's the athlete, there's the drug dealer, there's the Carlton Banks type that he's Black and he's successful, but he hates Black people. Like, there's like, there's certain characters, but it's like, I'm seeing how important it is. Like, hearing your story, it touches me, and I see how important that is.
And like, it's warped, right? Like, think about this, right? You mentioned Carlton Banks, right? And we all know, like, we all been in schools. Like, everyone went to school in the GTA. Y'all from Toronto? Like, you know, when you're from like the city, like the inner city, or you're from like this, wherever, like the East End or West End, like, especially when you get to high school, like, here's a crazy sad part. Like, when like kids are in like kindergarten, right? Like, you have children. I don't know how old your children are, but like, kids love school. Like, they love learning. Like, little Black boys and girls, they like love it. But slowly over time, you see like the trends that like the Black community has this like passive disregard for school. Yeah. And like, ask yourself why. You know what I mean? It's because of the things that how the school systemically like operates to like marginalize and surveil and like push people to the margins. And then even this notion of like the Carlton Banks of like, somehow if you like get good grades, or you're smart, or like you care about your math and science and English grade, that you're like less black, you're whitewashed. Like that's demonstrative of like how pervasive racism operates in our world, right? Like I can't stand people who say like we live in this post-racial society and like everything's based on merit. It's like, what are you talking about? Like when black community for years and decades, like how has it become that anti-blackness is so pervasive that somehow subconsciously we've been programmed to think that if we perform well in the classroom and in academic settings, somehow that's stripping us of our authentic blackness. Like that's wild, right? So my question is like, that's why I don't think I'll ever like stray too far from education, because it's like, how do you prevent that? Like, how do you talk to like youth and be like, nah, like you can do well, like it's okay, like you don't need to. And even if you are the Carlton Banks, what is like, that doesn't mean that you're not as authentically black. You know what I'm saying? Like,
But
Go ahead.
sorry, Juice. We need teachers like you, and I will give you an example. No.
No, you said he just stole your point.
He's stealing everything.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
Next time, I'm going first.
You go first. My bad. No, the reason why we need teachers like you, because I have my son. He was 6, 7, grade 1. He's academically smart. I don't want to say he got it from me, but let's say he got it from his mom.
Right.
He really did. But he's really, really smart, above his grade. Like, and he would be at his desk. The work's done, but like he's bored, not because he already done the work. Other kids are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher is, do your work. What are you doing? Not asking him, what are you doing?
right.
In a way where it's not trying to embarrass him. So now he's on the, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to class.
Embarrassment.
Hold on. Hey, this is where it gets good. Now he graduates from that class, right? Because that teacher was always, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's not paying attention. No, he's paying attention. He's already done the work.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked him, what's going on, big guy? He said, Daddy, I'm bored. I'm finished the work while the other kids are pretty much copying my work. So his mom is like, I think something's up. I'm like, what do you think's up? She goes, I think he's gifted.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But we're not forcing the issue. So he goes to grade 2. Teacher is into the kids now.
Mm-hmm.
Not just saying, what are you doing? Don't do that, because this other teacher would yell at the kids. Now this teacher is more into the kids where he's talking to them. He comes up to us the second day. He goes, yo, let me tell you guys something. Your son is academically smart.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, I don't know if you guys noticed. Maria goes, no, we know. And she goes, no, I don't think you know how smart he is. He's in grade 2 and I'm giving him grade 3 and 4 homework already. And he's doing it no problem. So the other teacher had us thinking something was wrong with our son at his desk, twiddling his thumbs, not paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
But he's telling us, like, I already did the work.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm telling her I did the work, she didn't believe me. Right? Who'd you copy this from? Who'd you do this from? Right? So every morning when we're getting him to go to school, he's like, I don't want to go to school. Mm-hmm. Now I want to go to school. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Now imagine if he sees a teacher that looks like him, that's into him, showing him like, hey, you know what, Tiago, use your brain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He would love school even more.
For sure.
So that's what I'm saying. We need teachers like you as well. I'm not saying I can teach, but
Yeah.
I'll be a gym teacher.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. But no, I hear you, right? And like, that's such a powerful like story to demonstrate like how important it is, not just educators, but like education in general, right? Because think about hypothetically, like if your son, right? He's clearly intellectually inclined, right? He's doing his work's done and it's done early, right? So it's not challenging to him.
Mm.
But this teacher has, for whatever reasons, right? Like already disrupting his relationship with schooling and with education to the point where he doesn't even want to go to school as a 6-year-old.
Exactly.
And then if that trend continued, what do you think will happen to your son by the time he's 12 years old?
He's going to fit the stereotype of the black guy that didn't want to go to school or not paying attention.
Yeah, school ain't for me.
Yeah.
Like school's not for me. I'm not for school, right? And then my thing is like, that's why I always want to like, hopefully at some point, like I'd love to like have a class where we dissect like hip hop and schooling, because even lyrics alone, going back to that Meek Mill song, right? Like Meek Mill in general has had a checkered like upbringing, right? He's from these streets of Philly. Like I don't know I don't have his report cards in front of me, right? But like, irregardless of that, like clearly he also is intellectually inclined. You don't write songs that the whole world sings without having a gift for language, without somehow being able to resonate, motivate, and move people, right? So think about like that situation within a classroom and how like, thank God, like inshallah, he went into a good direction where he's, you know, financially able to like support his family and his community and so on and so forth. But like, don't you like, I feel like there's mad geniuses all over this city that have been like warped by education and by schooling who go into different things.
Never looked
straight
at
up, right?
it.
Straight up.
Yeah.
No, that's important. I feel like a lot of the teachers that I've come across in my life, the ones that I choose to remember are only the ones that have treated me the best, right? And I can only imagine what ill effects have been left upon me. Again, without doing the real reflection behind it, but just based off of the ill interactions I've had with teachers that I didn't even choose to remember, you know? I even want to open up to the room now and kind of ask, like, the many hats and the many spaces that we go into as Black men, how do you guys, if you care to share or are willing, how do you guys feel that you have to dress up in those moments or strip yourselves down?
I'd say like job interviews. I can't show up in my, like being real.
Yeah, of course.
I can't show up as my authentic self. Like, you know, I think if I showed up in a job interview and I use some term of slang or terminology, you're instantly written off. If I was of a different color, who knows? Maybe they'll just, he's influenced, but he has all the qualities. But I feel like if I was to step into a space and like not present myself, I guess, is it code switching you said? I wouldn't be accepted. But I mean, it's for me, it's something that I struggled with like pretty much all my life. Like when I was younger, if I didn't have the representation, sorry to go back to this, but like if I had a teacher like you, I'm looking at somebody that's like me. I feel like all my teachers, like you said, we put us into this box and they just stereotyped you. And if I had somebody that looked like me, I think that I could have fell in love with literature earlier. When I was younger, I hated it. Hated school. Teachers, oh, he's disruptive. I remember I got suspended from school because I was defending myself because a kid used a derogatory term towards me. But they didn't care about that. They just cared my reaction. My reaction. And obviously the reaction wasn't warranted, but I'm young. I don't know how to defend myself. But I feel like if I had a teacher that looked like you would have been like, okay, guys, I understand he shouldn't have done that, but like, let's look at the other side. And again, I felt like Tiago. Hated school. Like I never wanted to do it. Like even playing basketball, even going to university wasn't even something like, even though I was good at basketball, I never really cared to go to university, but my mom's kind of forced me. But even there, I didn't feel the representation that was that great. But being in school should kind of show me like a bigger Black community. And it was like, okay, yo, you can do this. You know what I mean? There are people that look up to you. And I kind of fell into like where you were saying, I'm like, okay, I have to be a light towards kids that are younger that are looking up to me and that want to aspire to be better or whatever. And I started doing like things like having a word of the day. And I remember people used to make fun of me, like, why are you doing that? But I want to step into a room and I'm like, oh, say whatever word. And they're like, right. What? I actually like that. Cause it's like, oh yeah, no, you're not playing. You got the right one today. You know what I mean?
That's armed with words.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm armed with words and I can articulate myself and I can handle myself. And yeah.
Yeah, I like that, brother.
I have a question that came from what he was saying. It was on my mind. I'll answer in a sec, but it was around, how do you feel about the statement, school is not for certain people? Because you mentioned something about it and he kind of said it wasn't for him. Like, how do you take that state? Like when you hear that, what comes to your mind?
What comes to my mind is the other statement of like the system or school is broken. Like I don't think school is broken. Like I think it's set up and designed in a way that its intended consequences are doing exactly what they aim to do, right? I'll give you an example. Like, dog, there's been they used to call it the achievement gap. Now they call it the opportunity gap. You know, all these, as you're mentioning, these mitigating circumstances where statistically, right, within school boards, we don't even need to name a particular school board because it runs throughout all public school boards on all levels, elementary, secondary school, where essentially Black students fail more, get suspended more, and get pushed into special education, the lower level of special education, not the higher level of special education. This has been happening since since they kept race-based data on schooling, like 70s, the 80s, the 90s, like the achievement gap when they separated by races, like graduation rates, you know, meeting provincial standards academically, suspensions. It's been the same for decades. So my question is, so what are we saying? That inherently Black people are less smart? Or is there something wrong with the system? Because how could this happen generation after generation? But like my thing is,
and why are we not adapting?
Right. And like I think that question is, you know, I don't want to I came here to pod and have a conversation.
Of course. No, we don't want you to die. You still got a job.
But no. Like I think like the question about code switching is so interesting to me, right? Like because it asks the question of like, how do we navigate in a system that tells us on one hand we need to be resilient, but on the other hand, we need to fight for inclusion, right? Like, I'll give you an example, right? Like, so the code switching thing, like I fight with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm doing my PhD right now in education, and like, I want to get a neck tattoo so bad.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
He's saying, don't do it.
Get a job.
That's what. But like,
that up on after.
Bro, in my head, I'll be thinking like, I still have years and years where I'm going to have to be sitting in rooms or on Zoom, trying to persuade somebody for a job. I'm gonna be having to go through interviews, and I'm thinking like, every interview I'm gonna have to wear a turtleneck, even if it's in the summer, or like collar, like, or even a hoodie. But then I'm almost like F it. You know what I mean? Can you curse on here?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, like I'm like, fuck it. Like, if I have my PhD and I have a tattoo on my neck, what the fuck are you gonna say to me? Like, what are you really gonna say to me? Because we can really talk about code switching and aesthetics and value systems. Like the whole code switching thing, to me, it ties into like values. Like, what are we valuing? Look at how you're dressed. What's wrong with the way that you present yourself? But if you came in here with some cargos, with the sandals, with no socks, with, you know what I'm saying? Like, you get looked at differently because you're appropriating to a particular ascribed identity. And I have like a little bit of an issue with that. Like, I don't know how I feel about the code switching. Like I look at code switching, there's a need for it. Like you're saying, right? Don't get the tattoo.
My advice.
But like, let me give you an example, right? Say there's a mountain, right? And you're like standing at the mount, like you're facing the mountain, but you need to get to the other side of the mountain. And you're like, okay, you're thinking like, okay, I could climb, I could figure out and get some tools to climb over the mountain. Or I could find like alternative tools to like dig under the mountain and go tunnel to get around it. Or I can find other tools somehow to like walk around the mountain. When you get to the other side, the mountain's still there. Do you know what I'm saying? So like this idea around code switching to play the game, needed at this point. But at some point we got to dismantle that mountain. Like at some point, like we have to get beyond like resilience. It's good, but what is resilience really, really teaching us? When I'm thinking about resilience in like the negative way, not like everyone needs to have a degree of resilience, but if we like we're here talking about also like our mental well-being. Like if we prioritize resilience and pushing through it and this and that, like we're gonna end up hardened and like hurt and calloused because all we're doing is figuring out how to get around a system that doesn't even want us to
Succeed.
succeed unless we adopt their values. And I just think it's important to interrogate all of that stuff, like the code switch and all of that. I think it's super important.
I totally agree with you. And like from what you're saying, like you're saying two things that are true. It's like we're playing a game where we don't make the rules. So a part of that is we feel like we have to follow the rules.
Right.
But a part of us wants to also change the game.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, this is not our sport we're playing. To a degree, what you're saying is, how I feel about code switching is, the best way I put it is there's levels to this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all actors in different spaces we go to. We're actors in our jobs, we're actors at home, we have to put on different masks everywhere we go.
Yeah.
But when we earn credibility in certain spaces, the more credibility we earn, the more we can be ourselves.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right? So you go to a job, you start on the first day, you go to the boss, the president be like, "What you saying, fam?" You're gonna have an issue with the boss.
100%.
He doesn't know you. Like, who's this guy?
100%.
Who's this delinquent?
Yeah.
Get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
However, I work my way up. I say, "Hey, how you doing, sir? Hi, how are you?" I come in clean cut in the cargo shorts with the open toe sandals. I play the game. I move up. I'm manager. I'm supervisor. Now I'm director. You guys saying, fam?
Yeah.
I could do that now.
Yeah.
You know why? Because I've earned credibility in that space. But the problem is, the other part of it too is, when we go into a space and nobody looks like us, we have to play the code. We have to play the rules of the game in which we're in. And a lot of times, it's not all us in the game. We can sit on this podcast and cast and chill and talk the way we talk because it's all of us. But it's like, if you were sitting on a different podcast with different people, you might not move the exact same. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it's like, I have a friend, he wants to be an influencer. And he's like, "Yo, bro, I want to be an influencer, but I'm just too real, fam. I'm just too real." And he is real. But it's like, he doesn't know how to play the game so he could get where he wants to get. Because to me, I believe like, you have to play the game for a bit, at least in the beginning, to get to a point where you can really take off the codes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, it's a difficult game to play.
I also think it's important to like know that you're playing the game.
Yeah.
Right. Because if we go back to like, we tie it back into school, right? And it's like the ostensible Carlton Banks archetype that we're talking about. Like the person who is inclined to aesthetically look like that and prioritize the things they're prioritizing, I don't have an issue with that. The person who's doing it because they think, without like reflecting on it, that assimilation is the key to success, I have a problem with, right? Like you're saying, the door that we want to enter, we got to crack it open before we bust it down, right? Like I'm trying to get through that door, and when I get through the door, I'm trying to bust that door down, right? But it's important that folks are like reflective of what they're doing, of how they're operating, right? Like in my book, I write about that a lot, right? I'm like, like when I was on the TTC in high school, like no question, nobody's sitting beside me. Like no question, bro. Like I'm putting my bag down. I'm putting my hat like this, music blasting. Like I'm sitting in the back, taking that 54 to my work. I don't want anyone to sit beside me. But also what I'm doing is like doubling down on the stereotype of blackness, right? Like I'm doubling down for my own comfort. It wasn't only later till I realized that perhaps folks who don't encounter in real time Black male youth often are like, yeah, see, they're all the same, right? It's very complicated. You know what I'm saying? Like it becomes complicated where I think it's so important to be reflective. Like you need to know what you're doing when you're in rooms, when you're in those rooms. You need to, and if you don't, you at least need to be like reflective afterwards. You know what I'm saying?
Present and then reflective for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, dog. I mean, all that is on the mental, because even you talking about that, I could harken back to a lot of situations where myself is like, whether it's on the bus, whether it's walking, whether there's just I feel like a bravado I have to, exude, where it's like, now I'm walking with an extra I'm not the largest guy, but I feel like I have to be, when I walk, I have to take up space. You know what I mean? But I'm only thinking about that as so nobody can mess with me versus what it actually presents to others looking at me, which is, like you said, it becomes really complicated once you actually sit back and think about what the hell did I do this actually for?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, even going back to the question I was asking, how do you guys feel that really affects the mental though, especially for people that aren't actually reflective upon that? Like, what do you guys see? Like, what do you guys feel about that?
That's with the code switching.
Yeah, essentially, it's like we wear so many hats in these different spaces.
Yeah, I got probably like 100 at home.
You know what I mean?
Code switch. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. When I go to work, I go to restaurants, there's just everywhere you go. Like living in the hood, you gotta be a certain way. But I look at code switching, like Tychon said, as a game for real. Because like when I go to, for example, the hood, I'm not saying that my pants is sagging, but I'm also not gonna let you take advantage of me. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, because if I'll give you an example, like when I went to school, what are you going to school for? I used to hear, why aren't you going to school? You're smart enough to go to school. And it's like, this guy thinks he's better than us. He's a goody two shoe. Because I want better for myself. So it's like they took that as a weakness. Like, you're going to school, you're weak. We're going to punk this guy every day. But no. It's not happening like that. And then it's like going to work. It's like you code switch. And it's like when you code switch, it's like they think they can take advantage of you too. Like, who you playing with?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give you guys an example. Like, my manager, he's not the manager anymore. I was waiting for him. He's like, why are you waiting here? And I was like, I'm waiting for you. And he turns to me and he goes, yo, all jokes aside, you smoke weed? And I said, no. He goes, you're not even black. What does that mean?
Am I supposed to laugh at you?
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I didn't even laugh. I was like, okay. He goes, I got you, man. No. You didn't get nobody. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, I can't not smoke and be black. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little thing like that. Like, even little comments. Like, one time I was working out, arms were popping out a little bit. You pull up because it's a little ramp. You pull up to work and the ramp's open. Everybody's there. It's like, oh, whoa, Terril's looking jacked. And then the guy goes, no, he's not. It's in his jeans. The other white guy goes, what does that mean? It's in his jeans. And I didn't take it into right away because I'm the guy who was like, hey, how's everybody doing? But like Tychon, what am I dealing with? You guys good? But you can't do that because they're like, whoa, buddy.
It's aggressive. Yeah.
Who's this guy?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we had a Christmas dinner. They came up to me and said, hey, man, if we knew you were this cool, we would have invited you out a lot more. Huh? I've been working with you guys for 10 years. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, you got to code switch. There's been situations where now when I speak up, everybody does. But when I don't, he's whatever, man. But then when you do speak up, it's, oh my God, Terril has a voice. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, the code switching to me, like I do it every day. Every day. I'm going to be honest with you guys. To work, restaurants, wherever you go.
Do you feel like it impacts your mental?
I don't feel like it impacts my mental. I just feel like it probably does, and I don't even realize it because I've been doing it for so long. Like going to a white school, Michael Power. I went to Michael Power. And when I would see other black people and they say, what school you go to? And I say, Michael Power. You go to Michael Power has black people? You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, they don't accept black people. If you go to one of their schools that are in the area where that's your high school you have to go to, they have to accept you. But they look for any reason to kick you out. You know what I'm saying? So, like, black guys were getting kicked out of the school at Fred Center for, like, reasons that, like, when you hear some stuff that the other white kids did, you're like, why didn't you get kicked out for that? Because their dad's a doctor, or mom's a lawyer, or police officer. They don't want to mess with, their family. And seeing all that, like, going to those schools, like I said, it's code switching and just being in situations where it's like, damn, that really just happened to me and it didn't happen to him. It makes it, it probably, like I said, it probably did mess with my mental a lot, but because you're so used to doing it all the time, it becomes normal.
I think,
And that's where we're trying not to make it become normal, where we have to code switch, but to a certain extent, we can't walk into a room and say, "Wagwan fam, what you dealing with?" You can't do that to your boss.
You can't.
I just feel like with code switching, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it goes directly to what Matthew just touched on. It's like actually to what Terril just touched on. It hardens you. You know, it's something you do out of naturality, you know? So it's just one of those things where it's like, again, when I say you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, and you have to pick and choose when those things happen, right? Because even going to, when I went to Laurentian, what? You went to where? Is there any black people over there? Like, what does that matter?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, I went to a higher education. This is what you guys asked me of me. I'm providing that. Like, there's just so many things where now I feel like I'm on the defense of something that other cultures look at something so regularly. Didn't matter where they're going. No, they got to go. You know what I mean? There's various other examples I could bring up, but yeah, there's just, again, damned if you do, damned if you don't. You have to really choose on when you're speaking up on something, even if it's something that is something that's in your wheelhouse as a black man, right? It's like, all right, well, if I take part in this conversation, what do I get viewed as if I were to have a voice in this? If it's viewed by this, or viewed by that, there's so many things that impacts your mental of that. It's like, not to say that you shouldn't speak up, because maybe you should, but now it's just in your mental, like, damn, if I do, what happens? And then maybe you force yourself into a space where it's like, no, I don't want to, because I may get viewed this way. There's just so many different sectors to that.
You become we knew that was him.
Exactly.
I think you guys are speaking to all something really interesting. It's what it brings my mind to is like, even kind of what you're saying in your jobs as well. It's like, I remember being at my job when I was working as a city planner, and I'm thinking I did security. And like, are you a security guard? I remember thinking to myself, my shirt was tight, but it wasn't. But I remember thinking to myself, it's like, was there something I was doing wrong? And so like what you're speaking to is like, sometimes as a black man, it feels like your mind is always like, am I too threatening? Did I smile too hard? Did I speak too tough? Should I ask a question? Should I say something? Well, they disrespected me. Should I do something? Like your mind is just going 10, like it's going so fast because you're like, how do I move here? And like, that's the part of wearing the mask and the acting is like, you're always trying to stay up to date of like, what is the right move for the situation? You're always assessing. Okay, now I'm with a bunch of black people. Okay, I gotta move like this, but like, I don't know these black people. So it's like I did a workshop with a bunch of black students. It was like how I approached the workshop was so different because it's like, now I have to command a different level of respect, and they only respect me in this way if I speak to them in this way. So it's like, now I gotta speak to them differently than how I would speak to a group of, maybe a mixed group. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we're always doing these mental gymnastics. And I think it's that way it affects our mental. It has to be, because it's like,
it does for me.
It's just exhausting.
It does for me, and I know it. You know what I mean? And it's draining. You come home, you say, like, I actually do that. Like, a lot of these spaces, I come home like, yo, like when you talked about a job interview, I can't tell you how many times I got out of a job interview, my palms are sweating. For what reason? Am I uncomfortable? Why? I've done this a million times. You know what I mean? Why am I feeling like that? But that's the thing that has the impact on my mental. It's like, damn, I hope they don't judge me based off of what tattoos. I got them. But I could tell you the same uniformity I've always worn to a job interview. It's the same stuff. Same black jacket, same white collar shirt. You'll never see a tattoo on my body until I'm now comfortable and setting at this job. That's not the same for everybody. That's not black.
My thing is, it's funny you say that, because my thing was always like, I don't want them to judge me on my name.
That too.
So like when the papers come up on the name and it's like, oh, you know, like, for example, you're perfect. Matthew. Yeah. They see Matthew.
Don't know what to judge.
They're like, we gotta see what's going on with Matthew. Right? Now they see Terril, well, yeah.
They know.
You know what I'm saying? So that's my thing. But my thing is always when they see me in person, I'm like, I'm gonna kill this job interview. I'm gonna show them why they need me. Right? So
yeah, no, it 100% affects your mental health, whether you consciously know it or not, right? Like what we're talking about is like compartmentalization, right? Like every day, you know, I actually, the subtitle of this book was going to be called like Assembling Pieces of My Character. Because literally every day we step outside of our homes, we're putting on a different piece of our character. Like y'all mentioned, like when you are in the hood, there's a certain way you act. There's a certain more like accent that you might bring out, right? When you're in a professional space, like I remember when I started teaching, on my way to the school, at some point I would turn off my like whatever music I was listening to and turn on talk radio
Damn.
to like get in my head, like
Head in the game.
not even about the topics that are on talk radio. Do you know what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
get it.
You get what I'm saying?
Literally.
100%.
To be like, okay, yes, all right, make sure that, like, just to mentally, but like,
That's insane.
no one else has to like think about that when they're going to their work every day,
Nobody.
right? Like, I'm thinking about making sure that I show up in the way that is as quote unquote appropriate as possible, right? Like your boy said, he's too real. For whatever that means, that looks different for all of us. But like, I'm making sure, and here's how I'm just thinking about how wild this sounds right now. I'm making sure that when I show up to these professional settings, I don't show up as real as I am.
Mm.
And think about that sentence. It's crazy. 100% that's doing a detriment to your mental well-being if you are unable, for whatever reason, right? There is a purpose oftentimes in code switching or like playing different parts of yourself, but like think about the idea of like not being able to or not feeling like you're able to show up as your real self, or like not being able to do something because you're too real. That sounds wild.
Sounds crazy.
Shout yo, dog, it's actually insane, bro. I think about it just because like a white dude can show up after listening to the most current of, like, I know a couple white dudes I know that listen to, like, I don't know if you guys listen to Detroit rap that's been super trendy right now, like V's. This rapper named V's. You can listen to V's, jump out his car and be like, yo, I was listening to new V's. People like, yo, he's so cultured. And he could just continue about his day. Me, I'm talking like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's things that they could just do this just regular.
Yeah, if you do it, you're too real.
Think about that. Like, that's insane. But
Yeah.
going forward, I wanted to ask you, just coming off of that mental, is like, what do you guys think some of the biggest mental health challenges? Actually, you know what? We kind of answered that. I was gonna say just the biggest struggles, the things that we struggle with the most, the biggest mental health struggles that Black men see today. But I mean, like, in us having that discussion briefly just there, we kind of just answered all that in a sense.
I mean, we could talk about it briefly.
Yeah, sure. Let's
Like,
do it. Let's dive in.
because-
What biggest struggles do you feel like Black men are seeing today?
Like, I think it ties into everything that we've obviously been talking about. But my thing is, like, I don't think that, like, Black men tell their friends, their circle, tell other Black men that they love them enough. Like, I don't think Black men are, like even talking about it is, like, almost difficult to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Like, the ways in which, like, we're supposed to, for the sake of our mental health, like, we're supposed to share our insides. Like, we're supposed to be like, yo, I love you, bro. Like, make sure you know, drive home, get home safe. Like, holler at me when you get home. Like, bro, I really appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Like, the simple like ethos of, like, as men within your circle of friends, having that, like, love and expressing that love is a detriment, because everything is like, yo, I'm straight, yo, I'm good. Like, we're so oftentimes, like, caught up in maintaining, like, a presence of Black masculinity, where it's like we don't necessarily really want to be vulnerable with what it means to be getting older as Black men. Like, one of my best friend, rest in peace, Jay Williams, he passed away, right? Almost this time last year, a little over a year and a week ago. And, like, we used to have conversations where, like, we would finally get to the point in our group where, like, we would talk about, like, we would share things that, like, you would never share with your friends. Like, yo, I'm losing my hair. I'm about to go, I'm thinking about doing this, bro. Like, being able to actually have these conversations of, like, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what I'm worried about. Like real shit conversations. And I think oftentimes we're just too caught up in being like, man, I'm not going to tell my boy I love him. Like,
He should know.
He should know I love him. You know what I'm saying? I picked up the bill.
Do you guys feel like it's a weird thing? I thought about this over the last few months. Obviously still something I'm even struggling with. But do you guys not find it a little bit weird that we find it almost way too easy to diss each other, but not tell each other how much we love each other?
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
I think it's the way you brought up, like a couple episodes where even Tychon said, like, we just all roasted each other.
We just do it.
Yeah, and it's not like we did it out to like really hurt anybody.
No, absolutely.
It was more so like that's what we did. But one thing I can tell you about, like, with the whole friends loving you, this guy,
Yeah.
I used to say, stop telling me that.
No, really, he does it a lot.
Yeah, he'd be like, I love you, bro. Say it back.
Same.
And then what would I say?
Same.
Real shit.
Right? And then like my next boy, like he would always say, I love you, bro. And we would pause on the phone and then we'd laugh and he goes, you're not gonna say it back? Same. You know what I'm saying? He goes, why don't you say it? Y'all, I'ma holla at you. Hang up, right?
That's what he means.
But like you see, it's like you said, like cover the bill. He knows I love him. I did that for him. He knows I love him. But like goes back to what you said, just it won't hurt to hear it. Right? So probably gotta work on that. But you guys might hear the same for a little bit more longer, right?
Do you guys think it's like the representation of a father? Like if you don't have a father to tell you I love you, do you feel like now because you never had that, it might show within your boys? Or your father never told you I love you or whatever? Because for me, it was always natural to tell my boys I love them, because that's something that I said to my father, my grandfather, my brother, the people in my family. But I see other people struggle with it. And I don't know what the correlation is, but I was just opening it up to the room. Maybe do you guys see that?
I won't say it's just father related, but I do think it's external relationships for sure.
Like it starts there.
Yeah, no, but even for my dad, like we say I love you to each other, right? And I don't find that weird at all. But the external relationships I have with other men in my circles, yeah, it's like,
Why you tell me that?
yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, I love you. You know what I mean? Do I? Like,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think, again, just to go back to your question, for me personally, I don't think it's father, but it is externally in relationships coming up. Is like, yeah, there just wasn't something that was exercised. Where now I look at it and be like, now that it is, now we're getting to an age where it's like, expressing that and getting to a mental health type of society that we're in, where it's like now people are expressing it. It's still like, it's weird, but it shouldn't be. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's been things that I'm trying to break through. It's tough, but it's
I come from a very strong Caribbean household. We never really heard I love you. It was more so like, there's food on the table, I love you.
Take this, yeah.
You see them lights switch that, flick it. Someone love you. Now my dad, I don't think he's ever said I love you. When we text, it's one love. And I laugh every time we say it. And I don't like, it's very tough because now that I have kids, like I never used to say the words I love you to anyone. And then my wife always says, tell your kids you love them. Because if it's your last day on earth, that's the last thing that they're going to remember you saying to them. And then I think about it all the time. I'm like, I need to do this more. And it's been getting better and better and better. Even like my son said, Dad, do you love me? I said, of course I love you.
Of course, yeah.
So say it. I mess with him sometimes. It's saying, but I like, hey, guys, I love you, right? It's just, I believe it's how you're brought up, right? Yeah. And then she does this all the time. Say I love you. So I'm working on it, to be honest.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it is how you brought up. Because again, my mom never left the house without telling me she loved me, or, I'm thinking about you, I'm proud of you. You know what I mean? And I guess that's something I've adopted. Again, I always tell you guys how proud of you guys I am, that I love you guys, or like, yo, it's amazing that you did this. And again, that just comes second nature to me now, because I guess that's just what I was shown when I was from.
But you said your dad too, right?
Yeah, my dad would say it as well.
Like, I think the moms is like, that's natural. Like everyone's mom. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think when it's fathers, or when it's like from a man to another man, like, I think it has to do with modeling, like just like everything else, right? Like when you like schooling, teaching, like when you see you've kind of like, that's been part of like just your upbringing. So for you, it's like, of course you're going to tell your kids you love them because your dad told you that. You know what I'm saying? Like for us, I agree. Like it is awkward at times. I think for me, the reason why it's less awkward in my life is because like me and my circle have been through like this is the toxic part. Like, it becomes easier when you face trauma. Like when you've gone through stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's easier to be like, yo, bro, like, I got you, I love you. You know what I'm saying? Like, when, like, think about, I don't want to like darken us out here, you know what I'm saying? But like, think about how candid conversations are at a funeral if you've ever lost somebody, where you like, yo, we need to do this more often, we need to link, we need to have a reunion, this and that, and then like everyone kind of goes back to their lives, right? When you unfortunately like go through like trauma as men, that's in a warped way the only way that like softens us. And my whole thing is like, I think that we should be able to like be soft without having to go through the hardships. You know what I'm saying? And like, to be honest, like I use these words like we need to be soft. Like I use these words intentionally. Like, I know it's a little bit awkward to hear another man say like, you know, we should like expose our insides and like we should like love our brothers and stuff like that. But I think that's how you break through of it becoming less awkward to be like, yo, listen, like, not every day can we walk around and like carry these burdens and these scars on us when we're like thinking about all these things and we just keep it to ourselves. Like, the first step's got to be love. How else do you get to talking about these other things if you're unable to like share like how important a friend is to you? You know what I mean?
I agree. And like, just to add a little bit, I think a lot of us just came from a place of it's survival, right? So when we're just surviving, we're not even thinking about love. Like when I think about even my grandfather, I tell him, "Oh, I love you, Grandpa," and he's like, "Yes, yes, yes."
Mic check.
And I just says, "Yes, okay."
Yeah.
Brother, you just hear what I said?
You can't say it.
Okay, yes. Say it back, man. But it's like, it was just they were just in survival mode. And to your point about like how we diss each other so much, I do think obviously that's an expression of love. To diss our friends as we grew up, it meant like, we love you, like we care about you. The problem to me is like, that is the hard version of love, but it doesn't balance with the soft version.
That's what I
So it's like, all we're talking about is like, yo, you're shit at ball, you can't this, you can't that, you're going ball, you can't dance, you can't, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's always something, but it's like, I think that needs to be balanced out with the soft versions, where it's like, yo, I really like what you did with that, or like, I'm proud of you for this, and I'm proud of you for that. We balance them out, I think we're in a better place.
I think that's what the interesting part is, right? Because I'm looking at my group chats and I'm looking at like, yo, we could go in on somebody for 70 messages. And it's all laughs. Everybody's good spirited about it. But then it's like, we big up somebody on something, it's like, yo, and then somebody comes like, yeah, bro, that was blessed. Like 70 messages, this and this guy, and then we come with like 10 messages and be like, yo, that was great. You know, like it's just weird. Like when I thought about it, I sat back and said, damn, bro, we are backwards in a sense, you know? Which kind of leads into this next one is like, are we hard on our own people?
Man, like, I think so. Like, I think, you know, the whole idea of like how we're taught, another lesson that everyone has probably heard at some point in their life in this room is like, you know, you have to work twice as hard to be like half as good, right? Or like when you get told like, yo, you can't do that in these places. Like, don't make the school come ring down my phone. Like, I ain't trying to, you know what I mean? It's going to be problems. So like that, to me, it ties into the idea of like resilience. We're in a like implicit way always taught, like trained to be calloused and to be resilient in the face of whatever, right? And it just over time, like we're back to the whole love thing. Like I'm thinking about like my friends in high school, like when I go to some of their homes and like they didn't have anything in their fridge, bro. And like it wasn't even a point of conversation. It was just like, yo, it is what it is. You gotta like survive and be resilient and like get it out the mud either in any way. Like nobody ever is gonna disrespect me. Like there's this ethic of like we must be tough in order to survive. That's connected with masculinity. I think it's traditionally connected to masculinity because maybe before like it was for the sake of survival in a sense, like maybe decades and decades ago, like if you didn't display this type of like ethic of like toughness, you're looked at as vulnerable. But even in the hood, like even in certain areas, you are still looked at as vulnerable if you like little small things, bro. Like I'm even thinking about like my in my group chat, like mans would like joke about like if someone said happy birthday and be like, yo, how do you even remember my birthday?
Yeah, like
It's like, bro, what do you mean? Like you're my like,
Yeah, you're my dog.
I do this all the time where I say, yo, so I have this thing where it's like, if you don't mention your birthday to me on your birthday, I take it as like disrespect. How dare you not let me celebrate? But at the same time, I'm a person, I'll never tell you it's my birthday today. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's just weird things that we do, and we're just so hard on ourselves as black men. And that's why I want to ask. Like, I just open up to the room. Just how like we are hard on it. We judge ourselves and judge other people, judge other black people. We do all these things so hardly. It's just like, how do we get better if that's what we're doing to each other? Because even if, like, for example, we brought up this do-rag question, right? Where we set the stage of, Tychon, you asked the question, so I want to let you lead that, actually.
Hold on. Before the do-rag question, though, because I want to ask, like, what you think about, like, my opinion on this, right? Like, my take. Like, I think that another reason why, like, we're so hard on each other is, like, in like, somehow, like, in, like, black culture, we just think it's a zero-sum game. Like, we just think, like, oh, if you have a podcast, if a next black dude has a podcast, it's competition. Like, it's like dog eat dog, you know, crabs in a bucket mentality. And like, I don't really like, I don't rock with that. Like, I think that we need to celebrate each other's wins. Like, even you think about social media, right? If like somebody's doing something, like it takes so much for you to just like, yo, I'm going to post them on my story or big them up, right? Until they get to that point where you're like, oh yeah, I'll support their clothing company or whatever. Like there's this zero sum mentality where if like that person, that black man succeeds, that means I just missed the spot that they're holding for the one black person, right? And I think that when it comes to like other races, I don't think that there's that mentality because there's not that reality, right? Like we see it like in our jobs and in our professions where it's like when you get into these spaces and you're like the only black person, it's like, yo, did I just get hired just because they need a little bit of
I felt like that.
diversity? You know what I'm saying? Like
I heard, yo, he's the right shade.
Wow. Right.
You know? Being hard on our own people, I don't think I am. Sometimes I probably could be. Like, I'll give you an example. I went in a black man's house and, you know, I installed furnaces and air conditioners and he was standing over me the whole time, right? And he's like, dude, my son's been trying to get a job and, you know, no one will hire him. And then, like, I gave him, like, all of our managers' contacts. And I said, don't go through, like, the careers because you don't know where that's going to end up. Like, these are the direct numbers, the direct emails. When your son gets his license and whatnot, give these guys a call, and I'm pretty sure they'll hire him. You know, and he was very grateful, right? Because he's like, everybody's just been giving him the runaround, right? So, like, I always had the mentality, why can't we all win, right? Like, if you're winning, he's winning, we're winning. Like, and I heard Kevin Hart said the best, like, what's the point of having all this money if your people around you don't have it, right? What's the point? So when I see that, I was like, he's right. Like, I want you to win, you to win, you to win, me to win, all of us to win, so that when we're all at the top, we can bring whoever we need to bring up. That's how I see it, to be honest.
I think it's that boss mentality. We all want to be the boss. We all want to look down on others. And like, obviously not in a negative way, but like, kind of like how you said, when I got hired at my last job, got the GM position, I made it a point. I'm like, yeah, I'm hiring black people in here. I feel lonely in here. The only other black people are at security or you're in kitchen. You know what I mean? I made it a point to make sure that we had some black servers in there and whatever. But I don't know. Like we definitely are hard on each other. I try not to. I try to lighten that up because like I want people to be able to come to me and be like, yo, how did you do this? How did you get here? And me kind of lead them in the path where they can figure it out themselves or give them a head start. Because I don't like, at the end of the day, me getting to the top doesn't stop you from getting to the top, or you getting to the top. It's probably easier because you can put your hand down and help me get up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You ask honestly great points by both of you, and I think like you ask a really complex question that is for me very context dependent. I would love to sit here and say I'm the guy that uplifts all black people at all times, but it's like envy is natural. We're naturally creatures of comparison.
Yeah,
we always compare ourselves to each other.
It's a fact.
Then we have to unpack that thought and be like, okay, what am I feeling? And then it's like, no, it's not jealousy. I love what they're doing. Or you know what I mean? Or like, oh, I wish I had that too. Like we kind of have to unpack it, but naturally we're creatures of comparison. But even to like are we too hard on our people? I'll say in one situation I am for sure is when I go to a black business and something goes wrong.
You are right.
I'm like, see?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I went to a black business, you know, they said debit machine, we don't have a debit machine, go to ATM has no money in it. And I'm like, this is the foolish, see, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I have to catch myself and be like, how am I really gonna put all black businesses
in a singular instant?
In this singular instant, you know what I'm saying? If I went to Tim Hortons and they did me dirty, it's like, I wouldn't be like, but I might even still come back to the same Tim Hortons. But I'm holding a black business to a higher standard.
Yeah.
And I have to catch myself. So are we hard on our own people in that context? I mean, absolutely. Even in other ones where it's like, I feel like in a lot of situations, we can be pitted against each other because we've been socialized to we're always the only in a lot of situations. And then when we're not, and there's someone else in the picture, now it's like,
You have that mentality.
you're like, oh, okay, he's here too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even to keep ours.
I'll give you an example. Big Brother for me. I feel like me and this other guy I was on with on Big Brother, there's two black guys in the house. It felt like naturally we were just pitted against each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wanted to beat that narrative so much. And it felt like we couldn't. Naturally, it's like, oh, it's either you or him. Who's better looking? Who's stronger? Who has more muscles? Who gets better with the girls? Who's this? And it's like, why is it always me? Why is the conversation always me versus him? There's other people here. But it's like, it feels like the narrative is always like me versus him. And like, you have to talk yourself out of that narrative. And it's easier to do, like the examples you guys gave were where you guys were in positions of power.
Right.
Where it's like you had the power to help another brother out.
Yeah.
But it's very different when you're looking at a brother who might be equal or you might think is like, you guys are neck and neck. Now, how do you move in that situation? And now sometimes I feel like it's in those situations where we are the hardest on each other.
Absolutely.
It's when it's like, oh, that brother could get the job over me. Or it's like, I feel like in some instances, we don't like people from basketball back in the day, 20 years ago. There's man's, I still am like, I don't even know about those guys. But it's like,
And I don't even know that.
I don't even know him.
Facts.
But it's like we have this hardened stance on, because it's like, we're hardened and we think they're hard too. So it's like, we don't want to be the first one to break that shell. It's like, it feels like in our community, we do have to do a better job of this unity and togetherness. But it's like, it takes a lot of unlearning and it takes a lot of intentionality. And sometimes it takes like you to be the first one to put your hand up. You have to be the first one to give the head nod or the hail up or the dap or the whatever, because you might just act hard to somebody because it's like, I don't want to be vulnerable in that way. That's actually a really low stakes vulnerability to give a head nod or handshake.
You know what's crazy? I wanted to ask that question now that you mentioned it. I don't want to project either, so that's why I'm asking the question, but I can speak for myself in saying this. How many times have you guys been in a situation or in an environment where it's somebody that you don't know them, but maybe like an acquaintance situation, and you're not reaching to go hail them, you're waiting for them to come hail you? I feel like that happens to me all the time.
All the time.
So I'm not going to go hail him. I want him to hail me.
All the time. All the time. But you know, so there's two people that I was always no new friends. No new friends. This is my circle. This is what it is. I don't care. And I met a friend through a friend, and we played ball against each other all the time. I would always beat him. But basketball, like Tychon says, it does this thing where it's like, because you guys are on the court, you guys become competitors. Whereas now you're like, everything we do, that's my competitor. I don't care. I don't want to talk to him. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. He's over there. I'm not going over there.
Really?
He better come over here. Right? But have you ever talked to those people? Bro, I was so shocked. Like, we have so much in common. We talk daily. And I never thought somebody that wasn't in my circle growing up that I would not be real good friends with this person. right? Just off of genuine conversation. He's not looking for anything from me. I'm not looking for anything from him. And you're actually shocked. You're shocked. So my advice would be, yo, put that wall down, you know? And if he doesn't accept you, then it's all right, cool, because you weren't going to accept him anyways by just sitting in the corner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So put the wall down and see how it goes. Because you guys, believe it or not, that guy who you had all those battles with, bro, he probably has the same thing in common with you. Because if he's not talking to you, see, look at it, you guys are more alike than you guys could believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question for you related to this a little bit, just before we dive into the next thing. Because I know you talked about going to the States a lot in your book. Do you see a difference between unity between Black people in the States versus here that you could speak to?
Yeah, 100%. Like 100%. I think that like this whole idea of like the crabs in the bucket, Toronto's gotten a lot better at it over the last, like, I would say 15 years. But
damn, it was worse.
Bro,
It was worse. It feels different. It feels different. Now I feel like I could go into a place now and be like, what you saying, brother?
like I remember, and I'm not gonna like name any like areas or condos or whatever, but I used to live in this condo in like kind of like the West End border of like Etobicoke in the city. And like I remember just like driving every time, like I would drive up, if somebody was leaving, if it was a Black dude, like it was like a thing, like it's a, like we're staring at each other, like, who are you? Who are you? Like every single time it was so toxic. Like everyone in that building was like in competition with each other, like in competition, like, and even like with the music, like it's, we're hesitant to like support our own. And, you know, in my experience in the US, like there is a through line, obviously, with Blackness within the Canadian context and the US context. But when it comes to like that question, I see the difference in they're more open to like organically just supporting things. Right? Like, I don't know about y'all, but I like way back in the day, like 2008, 2009, this dude who was coming up in the rap scene that went by the name of Drake had a concert at like SoundCloud or something. It was my dudes from the States who came up to Toronto who were like, yo, we're gonna go see this concert. This dude's popping. And like nobody in Toronto like was supporting this guy at the time. Right? Like, where like they needed to, you know what I'm saying? Like he needed to go and get like the acceptance from south of the border before we even gave him the validation, right? And like that's symptomatic of like this whole, you know, oppositional like thing that we have with each other, where like we're so slow to like validate somebody else. Right?
I hear that in so many spaces though. Not even just music, but anything else. It's like you need to go popping over there before you come back over here and get popping.
Right.
Like, and the thing is like, yo, so for example, it's gonna be a joke, but who bumps Wale? You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that I don't really hear often. But where he's from, he's probably the biggest thing that they'll ever say, they'll talk about, right? But I try to talk about, like, I try to relate that to anything here. And it's just like, bro, how is that not the same case for anybody that's popping here? And it's just not. And I don't know why that is. Philly, the same thing. You could never talk to someone on Meek Mill's name because of this, that. You could talk to somebody from Drake's area right now, like, nah, that nigga's a sucker. You know what I mean? It's just like, wow. Not to say that you have to agree with everything, but it's just like, it's just interesting to see the differences and how that goes.
Yeah. I think, I just think like the dynamic of support just looks different. Like you're saying, like, I think that and I'm saying it has gotten better, like in like my 20 years of somewhat sitting back and like seeing certain things. Like, I still think there's a long way for us to go as a culture in this city to like actually really and organically like support each other, like in grassroots ways. Like, I think we have a long way to go. You know what I'm saying?
If you guys say it was worse 20 years ago, I'm thinking like to myself, I wasn't even nowhere really thinking about that. So I don't even know how bad it really was, but
what?
I've left and come back.
Yeah.
It's very obvious to me the difference.
Like, oh yeah, you know, because you've been somewhere, like I said, because I'm only really been rooted here. I just know it to be what it is.
Somebody like Tory.
Yeah, Tory.
Yeah. What do you mean? Like, what do you when you hear me say like it's worse, like what do you think I'm saying?
So, like, I just always knew it to be kind of what it is. So
Like
for
a
it to
little
be
bit of
worse-
self-hate?
Yeah, like, so if it's worse than what it is now, it's like, damn.
I think it's gotten a lot better.
No, I'm not saying it's worse. I'm saying
No,
it
I
was
know
worse
it's gotten
before.
better. No, I know, I
Oh.
know. But I'm saying, so if it was worse before, let me correct myself. If it was worse before, I couldn't even imagine because I don't know what that would look like. But I'm
Okay.
thinking like it's kind of been what it is. And if it's gotten better, then it's like, damn, what was it before?
I mean, no, like this
Does that make sense?
the self-hate, and I want to tie it also to like Black masculinity, right? And like authentic Black masculinity that's specific to like local regions. Like there was a lot of like we didn't have our own authentic like what Black masculinity looked like in Toronto. Like
Absolutely.
I don't know what I'm almost touching 40. I know of a time where mans would go to Carabana and not even be from Toronto. They're from somewhere else, adopting a whole different accent, holding that for as long as they can hold it over phone conversations. Like there was no love for Toronto. Like there was if you and your mans went on a vacation to Miami, you weren't from Toronto. You're from somewhere else.
Yep.
Where there's a more we have somewhat more of appreciation for our culture in Toronto, and we have started to establish our own culture in Toronto. But in terms of how the support looks within like the Black community and how it looks on a like one-to-one or a dynamic basis when it comes to like Black men supporting other Black men, there's somehow always still that transactional, like, what can you do for me? What can I do for you? That hopefully at some point and with like conversations like these that we can start to continue to like shatter those things, right? Where we're just supporting off the sake of, like you said, like it's funny you mentioned Wale, like my roommate was from DC when I went to the States, and all he was talking about was Wale. Like, and I'm like, yeah, we have Cardinal, like shout out to Cardinal, you know what I mean? Like, oh, respect.
Yeah.
And like this was 2006. Wale wasn't even Wale. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's what I'm saying. It's just
they love like it was go. Like you go to DC, like they have their own culture, like that go. Like
we just don't embrace certain things here, and it's just amazing to me.
Yeah.
Tychon, I wanted to leave you with the question to ask for the room so we get back, kick off that last discussion.
I think it just came from because you said a lot of interesting things today that I feel like relate to this. We had this big debate here about like, are do-rags appropriate in professional settings? And it would be interesting. It'd be interesting to hear your opinion on this because it was something we went back and forth about. And like, I think you touched on like Black masculinity and our identities and being authentically ourselves. And I think there's a lot to be unpacked there, but that would be the question. Like,
I could tell by the energy in the room that y'all have had this conversation before. So I'm just like,
we've had this like 4 or 5 times.
But it's never been brought to air though. That's
yeah.
funny.
It's always before the pod.
Right.
oh,
It's a lot.
okay. Ask the question one more time. Huh?
Pose it like you posed it though. So see that even that comes aggressive. My fault. Pose it the way that you posed it to us that time that you asked it.
are do-rags appropriate at work?
Are do-rags appropriate at work? Okay. I'm so interested to hear what y'all think. So I want to ask you a question. I want to answer your question with a question. When you hear the term Black excellence, what does that mean to you?
When I hear the term Black excellence, what does it mean to me? I hear someone who shows up, who's consistent, who's respected, who gives effort, who's resilient, who is challenges the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of the words that come to my mind.
That's pretty sharp for off the top of your head. Let me ask you another question.
Go ahead.
Out of those things that you mentioned, those values, I would call them values, right?
Yes.
When you hear the term Black excellence, and now you put aesthetics, the value of appearance in this sense of aesthetics, what comes to mind when you think of Black excellence? Does do-rags come to mind?
No.
And is that a good thing or a bad thing? that do-rags don't exist within our understanding of what Black excellence means from an aesthetic point of view?
It's just if I pictured when I think of the heroes of Black excellence, I think of mine, whether it's Obama, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Kobe Bryant. Like when I think of all these people, I don't see a do-rag on their head in my head.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Even when I thought of myself as an example, or you as an example, or any of us, I don't picture do-rags on any man's head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unless they were just getting up or going to bed.
Can I echo your question?
Go ahead.
You ever see? So again, coming up, I was big on magazines, right? Slam magazines out of subscription. I even picked up a couple Source magazines before, stuff like that. Ja Rule, at his time of being big, was on the front, long black leather trench, black overalls, do-rag on his head.
That's a nasty outfit, bro.
It's nasty outfit. But actually,
Some real nasty
was that-
work.
he had Tim's on, but him, DMX, and Jay-Z were the biggest rappers in the world at the time. Would that be considered Black excellence, Steve?
Absolutely. But when I think of Black excellence, not to say Black rappers are not excellence. They're not the first
Model.
ones that come to mind.
You have like I get it. Like you're saying Martin Luther King,
Great.
Malcolm X, Barack,
I said Kobe. I said
Kobe.
Yeah.
Like you have and many people, right, have this prescribed idea when you picture Black excellence, there's something that comes to mind, right? My only question about that, which is a little bit different than like just the general question of like, should do-rags be worn at work? I want to like, that's somewhat of a little different degree, but I just want to ask, if we're going to ask that question, I want to ask a follow-up question, a pushback question of like, when you think of Black excellence, whose values are we ascribing to when we say Black excellence? Why, Kobe and this, why is there a certain value system that is ascribed and named and defined when we think of Black excellence? And did we decide on that? Right? Like, I think about the difference between Black power back in the 60s and 70s, that movement, and this movement to Black excellence now, where there's a certain value system that's attached to Black excellence that ties back into our conversation earlier about code switching, right? About, are we, in a sense, maybe assimilating to a certain value structure when we claim Black excellence? And if I came in here today, this is a little bit of a different context, but if I came in here with a do-rag on instead of a fitted, like, how does that change the integrity of the things that I'm saying? How does that change my truths, my knowledge? And like, how does that change anything about the integrity of what I stand for? But I also think at work, there are particular codes that folks ascribe to, whether they're explicit or implicit. So it depends to me. Now, I'll bring it back to school because I'm always going to bring everything back to education. And then I definitely want to hear what y'all think about this, man. I think if a teacher tells a kid in school, a Black boy, to take their do-rag off, they're 100% in the wrong. I don't think that in schools, like, if you ask me the question, should do-rags be worn in schools? I'd be like, I do not think it's the school's place to tell a kid whether they should or should not wear do-rag. I think that telling them they should take that do-rag off in school, and as they are learning about how, as they are developing their identity, constantly telling that kid to take that do-rag off is contributing to self-hatred of Blackness, and it's almost an anti-Black frame of mind. Now, if you tell that kid, listen, when you wear that do-rag out in public, this is how they perceive you, and this is what you need to understand, and you need to reflect on it. Ultimately, it's your decision. It's the same way in which some clothing if we tie it to like notions of gender, there's certain things that if females wear, they're going to be looked at it a certain way. But I'm not going to tell a female what to wear. That's up to her. But it's important for people to tell her, if you wear certain things, you're going to be perceived in a certain way. If you show up to work with your pants half off your ass and your hat sideways with a do-rag underneath it, you're going to be perceived a certain way. So that's the question. Like, yes or no in work. I want to hear y'all. In school, I don't think that I don't think it has anything to do with the learning that's taking place. And I actually think that is more of implicit learning when you're telling children to take a part of their identity. Like, I get it. Like, do-rags are worn at night. But when I wore my do-rag when I was in high school, it went with what I was wearing.
Stylistic.
So when Auntie's telling me, yo, don't wear that in public, it's like, no, Auntie, you don't understand. Like, this is a new culture now. It's like the kids these days that have the mask on, like the medical mask. I asked them,
now, real life.
bro, I taught during COVID, and yo, these kids would never put their mask on. Never. Every day it's a fight.
Don't take it off.
And now they don't take it off. And I had a conversation. I was hooping with some kids on Friday. We used to do like Friday hoops. And I'm like, yo, what is this? Like, why do y'all wear this mask? And they're like, yo, it's just part of our style now. So I think if the do-rag is part of your style as a youth, I think that it's perfectly fine for students to wear a do-rag in school. Now, work, I don't know. I'm ambivalent towards it. I have mixed feelings. Like, I'm going to work in a do-rag.
You're not, or you are?
I am.
You are?
I am.
Have you worn your do-rag yet?
100%. When my hair was long and it was frizzy,
As a teacher?
100%. 100%. As a teacher, I can't wear a do-rag as a teacher. Now, if I work on Bay Street, then maybe I'm not.
Okay.
I'm working in a public school. I can't show up with a do-rag on when my hair has been braided for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I have all the same credentials as everyone in here. 100%. I ain't taking this do-rag off. Why? It becomes normalized. The black kids realize, like, oh, like, you can be professional and have a do-rag on. But I'm only talking about an educational setting. I've never worked in a corporate. Like, if I worked at like a banking institution, I don't think it would be perhaps appropriate to like have a do-rag on.
I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think they would want that.
That's
What he go missing? He took it.
So my thing is, that's exactly kind of what we're talking about, though. The fact that you went straight to he took what? What are we talking about? Why did you prescribe that?
I think that's so encoded. Like,
No,
yo,
why?
bro.
No, I know. I'm not saying that you're wrong. What I'm saying is the idea behind
Dog, if you walked up to the bank teller and the bank teller had a do-rag on, you would think about the do-rag.
You say, yo, what's your account number, fam?
So my thing is, right, behind it is like, when we first had the discussion, my first answer was, what position am I in this? Because when we first had the initial discussion, it was the idea of, okay, let's say I'm the owner of said business.
Mhm.
Am I allowing that in the dress code? Okay, well, that's another thing. Or there's just contextually it matters, right? So my bottom line was, it depends. And then they asked me what it depends on. And I said, to be honest, where am I positioned in this hierarchy of the job?
Mm-hmm.
If it's my own and I work at a basketball camp, for like the example we had at the time, my campers or the people that run the camp, like the station, whatever position they're in,
Coaches or whatever.
yeah, yes, they're allowed to wear a do-rag. So I just think, obviously, and they brought up a lawyer or whatever the case is, like, okay, cool. If I go to a lawyer or he's coming to a courtroom, I don't think he would be respected in the same thing, but that's playing to the game of the lawyers wherever. But if I went to a lawyer's office and I open that door and he's in a do-rag and a wife beater and he's sitting there taking my notes, who am I to say that person's not serious? This is their own space. You know what I mean? So I think it all just depends on what spacing or what hierarchy or whatever the case is, depending on that. But because it's become so normalized in pop culture, white people are wearing it for style. White women are wearing it for style. Just like tattoos were at a time taboo.
Mm-hmm.
It's become
Piercing.
normalized now, where it's like, we don't even look at tattoos the same anymore. We think it's cool. We don't think that's gang related.
Right.
So it all depends on how it goes on in society. So again, that's my take. I think they're accepted. Just depends on where.
Yo, you're looking at me wow when I say I wore a do-rag as a teacher.
Yeah, I found that crazy too.
Really?
Crazy.
Yeah, like I just couldn't picture it. But I think you did give an interesting take on it, where it's like for the younger kids, you're giving them the tools to understand you're putting yourself. People are going to perceive you in a certain way. I just, for myself, and like for example for my kids, I wouldn't want them to put themselves in that box, because people are just looking at you like you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and it sucks. But the society we live in, they discredit you for how you show up, right? And I don't want you to not be your true authentic self, but I don't know, it's a tough one. I like you kind of got me teetering on it now, because I was like, wow, that is a good way to look at it, because at the end of the day, I'm still intelligent, I'm still me, I'm still caring, I'm still all these things, but it's tough.
I don't know if
in work setting, like the way you put it, in school, and I guess who you are as a teacher and wanting these kids to be themselves. Yeah, I understand it, but like again, I can't go to a lawyer's office and he's in a do-rag and a wife beater.
But what changes?
Nothing. But it just
Just doesn't give you that professional.
Yeah,
That's
it
why
doesn't-
that's prejudged.
That's why.
It is.
But I
No,
get
it
it though. I get it. Like, pretend you weren't the lawyer. Pretend you're the person going to see the lawyer. Would you show up with
No.
a do-rag on?
Would I? No.
Yeah, like I wouldn't.
That's how
I wouldn't.
Exactly.
Like if I'm going to the bank, I'm going to let's go keep it on the do-rag. Like there's certain situations I'm with you, but I also see the other side of it. Like if I'm going into a bank where I need to like request a loan or double down on a mortgage or do something, like I'm probably not going to have my do-rag on that day, right? I'm probably not even going to have a hat on that day.
Yeah.
I might not even have my earrings in that day, because that is part of
Playing the game.
Playing the game, like understanding the dynamics of how race and relations are intertwined, right? If I'm going to school as a teacher, like I'm wearing a do-rag, man. Like open your books, man. We gonna learn about photosynthesis. Like what up? Like
Nah,
put the
and I
do-rag,
love that. I
like-
wish I had that as a student, but again, I just think in the certain different settings, it just I couldn't do it. But like you said, you made a very good point. I myself, if I'm walking it, like if I leave my house with my do-rag on and I'm driving somewhere, when I get to that destination, my do-rag is coming off.
Depending.
No, there's no depending. Like if I'm going to, like if we're about to go to a ball game or whatever, I'll walk in the gym with it. But obviously I'm not playing with it. I'll take it off. But
what if you're going to a ball game? Like what if you're going to a Blue Jays game?
it's coming off in the car.
Really?
It's coming off in the car.
I think like your case is unique. Like you coming in as a teacher, a black teacher at that, in a do-rag is just a unique
Showing your
situation.
authentic self. Yeah.
And it is showing your authentic self. But like I'm having a hard time
Visually.
with the idea of kids wearing do-rags in class at school, just because like without it, like I like the example you gave of explaining the context of it and understanding the choice that they're making and the implications of wearing a do-rag. But it's just like when you say like whose values are we subscribing to? Great question, right? And it's like if we bring this to basketball, it's like why do we think Michael Jordan is the best? Because of the values that we subscribe to. We think he's the best because of all the other reasons. He's one of the best scorers, the grit, the adversity, all these reasons why we think he's the best. Now, if someone said, I think Dennis Rodman is the best basketball player ever, we look at them that like they were crazy because like, what values are you subscribing?
Yeah.
But it's like when we look at our world, we're all playing the game. We're kind of playing the same game. And I think when you're playing the game in a do-rag, I don't think it makes it easier for you. You know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying, but see, I think the Jordan analogy is perfect, right? Because you're assuming, and we're all assuming that we are ascribing to these agreed upon objective values. I question the values that we are ascribing to. I question what we think value is, right? Like, I don't necessarily, like the whole aesthetics of like how, I don't want to like nerd us out into like this, you know, sociology and like philosophy, but like identity is not objective. Like it's subjective. Like there's a reason why a suit is considered more professional than a hoodie. There's a reason. Like it's not like some objective thing that it's no, because over time, traditionally, historically, particular cultures that were affixed to particular social economic statuses decided that suits were more traditionally professional than hoodies. And we've maintained that value system as it pertains to aesthetics. The same way as, here's my issue, right? And I actually wrote about this in the book, right? Like if Black dudes wear polo, it looks completely different than white dudes wearing polo.
Absolutely.
It's the same fabric. It's literally the same polo shirts. It's the same polo bubbles. It's the same polo jeans.
Bucket hat, whatever. Socks, belt.
It's not the clothes. It's how the clothes are ascribed onto the body that becomes racialized, right? So the example of the do-rag, it's a great like back and like you can ask 100 people in 100 different professions and you're going to get 100 different opinions. I've had this conversation in schools with teachers, Black teachers, Black male teachers, Black female teachers, and we all have different, there's no consensus, right? It's based on your cultural background. It's based on like the generation of, you tell an aunt, like someone's aunt, they're not talking to me about this. Like they're like, you're not, like get out of here. My thing is like, I think we need to critique and challenge, or at least critique, maybe not challenge, but at least understand that like wearing a suit is not objective. Sorry to get vulgar, but like they were lynching people wearing suits, bro. It's not the suit. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just think that the whole do-rag thing as it relates to aesthetics is a very good metaphorical exercise in identity and identity politics, because now we're actually questioning, like, what is it? Like, what is it about the do-rag? Like, is it the Blackness of it? Is it the appropriateness of it? Because traditionally it is something you only wear in your house. Like,
Or gang related.
bro, I work in schools where the kids were wearing the
Shiesties.
not the shiesties, like
Bonnets?
Bonnets.
That's unacceptable as well.
I'm
waiting.
you about to go out. You waiting?
I was waiting for you guys.
Wait for the ISO?
I know you
Okay,
were. You
ISO.
were I know.
I know, because is it ISO time?
Oh, you want me to get my? For me, it's a no, and it's not even like I'm against it, but it's back to the code switching thing. It's like, how are they looking at us wearing this do-rag? And that's how I see it completely. Like we as Black men, we can find, oh yeah, it's acceptable, blah, 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 blah. But on the other side, you guys gotta, I know this is gonna sound so wrong. We live in a white world and we're trying to now push over into that world, which is fine. And we are making our dent. And I don't think putting on a do-rag right off the bat is the right way to sit at the table, if you get what I'm saying. So once we get there, we can, slowly, do little things like that. But I just don't think a do-rag is professional. That's my opinion. Everybody has their own opinion, like you said. And you guys, 100 people. In my opinion, do-rag is not to be in a workplace.
Mhm.
And that's how I feel.
Look, imagine Barack Obama coming to address the world in a do-rag.
He would never.
That would be crazy.
Hold on, but can you imagine that? Imagine if he did that.
My nigga, what type of stance would that mean?
Imagine if he did that.
Like, if he did it, then what? You're not gonna take him serious?
No, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't.
I might.
Who's they? He's the world leader.
But they would be talking about the do-rag rather than what he was saying. It would ruin the whole speech.
Right. But the thing about that is then that is the shift in culture.
Like imagine, another one. Martin Luther King gave his legendary speech.
Guys,
They would not, you would not even know a word to the speech. All you would be was like, He was
Cool.
wearing a
Let me
do-rag.
ask you something now. Do you know the words to the speech? Does anybody know the words to the speech?
I know some of it.
Okay, cool. But that's my point. Regardless of whatever. No, my point is
Okay, cool. Regardless.
Yeah, because regardless of whatever you're talking about, you don't know the whole speech, and he didn't wear a do-rag.
But I know parts of it, but
Cool. What I'm saying is you're missing my point. The point that I'm making is no matter what other object you're making the point, you're not focused on what the real point would be of the speech anyways. The point of it would be the speech, right? You paying attention to the speech. No matter what else he was wearing. Now you're making it another reason why you wouldn't know the speech. Niggas don't know the speech, period. Regardless of what he was wearing. So you highlighting that makes no difference. You're just highlighting something else. You're giving it another excuse. So what I'm saying to you guys is until somebody else deems something cool in our culture, we're not gonna call it cool. We're not gonna say it's something that can be okay.
I think do-rags are cool.
or acceptable. I think the word is
That's
acceptable.
Sorry, except
You landed with that one.
Bro,
You actually-
yeah,
you actually
until somebody else says something.
you landed with that one.
100%. Like I'm with you on that. Like
I don't ascribe to anybody wearing do-rags, to be honest.
I hear what you're saying, but what I'm saying is I'm not gonna let the white dude over there tell me that my creation or a black person's creation is okayed because they say so.
I just think it's for your hair at night and you
Yeah.
shouldn't wear it in public.
I just think it's unprofessional.
I hear you.
okay.
That's it. Like we're all gonna have our
Listen,
different.
it's not a
opinions.
question. It's not a question of whether or not it's unprofessional. Currently, right now, it's unprofessional. I'm agreeing with that. What I think we're saying is, if someone shattered the unprofessionalism of it, let's say hypothetically, because we said imagine, right? So imagine if Martin Luther King. This sounds wild to me. Let's just go. Since we're here, right? Let's just go. Imagine if Martin Luther King had a do-rag on while he was giving that speech. Don't you think it would be less professional or more professional now, or whatever term we want to use?
Many years later.
If Barack now wore it 40 years later, we wouldn't look at it the same. You're saying imagine if Barack came and did a press conference wearing a do-rag. Yeah, like my whole thing is we need to start to imagine new worlds in which the things that we authentically associate with, and I get the other side, it's just supposed to be worn at night, but some people don't just wear it at night. Some people don't even wear it at night and then put it on their head when they go outside.
Imagine.
So my thing is, if such a trivial marker of clothing is contentious that is attached to blackness, I think we need to work on eradicating the things that, in my opinion, I get it, the professionalism, unprofessionalism. Ultimately, like that's trivial to me when it comes to doing your job, right? We can stay in it's unprofessional currently, but it's a great example because it speaks to the ways in which perhaps we do need to imagine how blackness perhaps doesn't have to have a seat at the table, but how we can just shatter the whole table and,
Show up to the
and
table.
reconceptualize a different thing.
Just showing up to
Right?
the table. That's what I'm saying. I think that's the main thing that I was just trying to come across with it. It was just that. It's like, yo, for a black person to be like, oh, that's not acceptable. Well, when will we make it acceptable? If we're just gonna go with somebody else's status quo, it's never gonna be acceptable.
I don't think
I'm
I'm
not
really
even
running
go-
off. Yeah, I'm not
go-
running off of somebody else's status quo. I don't even do it for myself.
Why? Because of other people's perception. You just said it. That is other people. That's not your own. Because if other black people made it acceptable and then the world said it was acceptable, you would then deem it acceptable.
No, I don't think I would.
So what made you get tattoos and say that's okay?
I like my tattoos. I would just never wear my do-rag was always for me to wear at night. That
I
was
hear
it.
what you're saying.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is then it becomes a choice, not an understanding of whether it's acceptable or not.
I never.
Yeah.
It to
No,
me,
no.
it's just.
No, I understand what you're saying. Follow what I'm saying though.
I'm following you, big dog.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is it doesn't become an idea of whether it's acceptable or not. It just becomes of whether I want to wear it here or not.
Yo, you guys,
That's what I'm saying.
listen, you guys are saying the same thing,
Hey, those-
but from two different things, right? Like you're saying, I would never do this. And he's basically saying like, why? Like, I think the point is like the same way you're taught that you could tell your like friends and children that you love them because you were taught that where other people weren't taught that. You were taught that a do-rag is unacceptable outside. Like somehow you were taught that. You didn't just you weren't 3 years old just implicitly knowing that like I can't wear this thing outside.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's what he's saying. Like we need to perhaps like question these things that we're taught that are either status quo or taboo in order to like progress, to use like a general word. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that was the overall theme of the whole conversation. Was just us challenging how everything has always been and maybe looking at it from a new perspective. And I think that's exactly what we're saying here. Whether it's professional or not, I don't think it's truly the essence of the conversation. It's just like let's think critically about these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the whole point. We have these conversations. Let's think about things a bit more than just saying it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Especially as it relates to blackness.
Yeah.
Well, to tie all that in, I appreciate Matthew stopping in with us today, brother. Do you have anything to promote?
Sure. Do I have anything to promote, man? Nah, man. I just want to give y'all your flowers for real because I think what y'all doing is very important. Like I think prioritizing mental well-being, especially from a black masculinity's perspective, like tying those two things together is something that is stigmatized. It's something that's taboo. It's something that's neglected. And it takes folks like y'all to like be brave enough to actually center these conversations. So yo, man, I want to give y'all your flowers, man. Keep doing your thing for sure.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I honestly thought this is so off topic when you're like, yeah, we need to promote. I used to be like, yeah, I got my do-rag line. I thought
That would be a good segue.
I was just waiting to say, I knew it.
No, wait, but go ahead.
I think you should promote your book.
I was gonna say shout out the book.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Sure,
Yeah. Yes, and one last thing, the book Black Boys Like Me, Confrontations with Race, Identity, and Belonging is in all stores, all places where you can buy books. The paperback's out now. And if you're able to, support your local bookstores. For sure, we need to keep bookstores and literacy alive, especially in our community.
100%.
Man, again, we appreciate Matthew for coming in to stop with us, chopping it up, giving you guys quite the content. Again, from us to you, remember to like, comment, subscribe, follow us at He's a Guy Podcast. Until next time, be safe.